So this is the topical outline for the law focus. We'll be starting out with the PDIC law. This is part 1 and will be the subject matter of this particular video recording. It will be followed by part 2 on the topic of AMLA, and then we have part 3 on the last 3 topics. Okay, so for your information, let's take a look at this question and try to come out with an answer. So we have here the Credit Foundation of the Philippines is a non-stock corporation which handles deposit of funds from its members and lends the same funds to the general public. So you see there the two principal functions, which is deposit, fund taking and the lending of the fund. It is composed of at least 100 natural persons, each of whom has deposited some amount of money into the foundation. It applied with the BSP for authority to organize itself into a bank. Question is, may the foundation be granted that authority to incorporate as a bank or to operate as a bank? Okay, so if you are to take a look at the facts presented before you, okay, siguro at the first instance you will say na pwede kasi tinitingnan ninyo yung principal functions, which is yung taking ng funds and the loaning of the funds to the public, and that it consists of at least 100 natural persons, no? But the more important thing that you may not have seen will be how it is incorporated. The requirement under the law is that banks, so you try to connect it with your study of the revised corporation code, no? Okay. Although corporations may actually be incorporated as stock or non-stock, there are special rules that says that for this purpose, a bank, it should be, okay, sabi doon, the requirement of the law really is only stock corporations can be organized as a bank. Okay. With that at the back of our mind, you know that the answer to this is no. The categorical answer is no. Again, let me repeat. Only stock corporations can be organized as a bank. So let's start right away with the first law on the matter. We have the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation Law, or RA 3591. Okay, it's a 1963 legislation and was amended by subsequent laws like RA 9576 of 2009 and RA 10846 of 2016. Yung amendment has something to do, of course, with how it is organized, supposed to be organized, and the like. PDIC, as we have mentioned, is a government instrumentality created in 1963 by virtue of the law 3591. Okay, the purpose being to ensure the deposits of all banks which are entitled to the benefits of insurance. 10846, the most recent amendment, empowered PDIC with stronger authorities to protect the depositing public and to promote financial stability. It included important provisions to ensure that the PDIC remains financially and institutionally strong to fulfill its mandate under its charter. So, laid down here are the public policy objectives of the PDIC as reflected in its charter and the subsequent amendments thereto. Okay, so depositor protection and financial stability. What do you mean by depositor protection? To promote and safeguard the interests of the depositing public by way of providing permanent and continuing insurance coverage on all insured deposits. Depositor, again, is defined as to refer to natural or juridical person who has a deposit with a bank. Okay? The definition of deposit is actually part of the MCQ, so we will go through, you had to go through the definition of terms. Financial stability, on the other hand, to strengthen the mandatory deposit insurance coverage system, to generate, preserve, maintain faith and confidence in the country's banking system, and to protect it from illegal schemes and machinations. Precisely the reason why, of course, PDIC on its own, it is also supported by BSP on monitoring board of the BSP. Okay. Just continue. What are the three main functions of the PDIC? Okay, deposit insurer, okay, receiver liquidator of distressed banks, okay, co-regulator of the BSP over banking institutions. For the purpose of the discussion in this particular video, of course, ang ina-emphasize natin yung number one, that the PDIC is a deposit insurer to protect the investing public. Okay? Sa mga pasaradong bangko, closed bank. The PDIC now has the authority to help depositors have quicker access to their insured deposits should their bank close. Okay, to resolve problem banks while still open. Habang namumblema yung problematic na bangko, tinutulungan na. Kaya meron tayong prosesong receivership. Okay, hasten the liquidation process for closed banks, and to met out stiffer sanctions and penalties against those who engage in unsafe and unsound banking practices. So these are your primarily concern as a CWPALE reviewee. So to understand yung konsepto po ng insurable deposits, the maximum liability of the banks, closed banks, and the requirements for claims. So paano mag-file ng claim. Okay? So may tinatawag tayong MDIC or the Maximum Deposit Insurance Coverage. Medyo mahaba na pong ang pinagdaanan nito, but the most current update on maximum deposit insurance coverage ay 500,000 per depositor per bank po yan. You actually see this whenever you go to banks sa pintuan pa lang nakapaskil na dyan itong maximum deposit insurance coverage. Prior to 500,000 per depositor per bank, 250,000 po yan. Bago naging 250,000, that was about 100,000 per depositor per bank. Okay, so medyo, I said, okay, babago po yan. Okay. So, hindi natin alam kung kailan tataas itong 500,000 per depositor per bank, but as of the moment of the recording, ito po yung ating applicable po na amount ng MDIC. So, the PDIC shall pay deposit insurance on all valid deposits up to the MDIC of 500,000 per depositor of a closed bank. The accounts maintaining the same right and capacity for a depositor's benefit, whether in his own name or in the name of others, are covered by deposit insurance. Mamaya, i-compute natin yan. May mga accounts ka sa isang bangko at yung bangko yan ay pasara na. Lahat ba ng accounts mo ay individually insured o hindi? Okay. The deposits are considered valid upon determination by the PDIC based on bank records that the deposits were made with a corresponding inflow of cash. So, ibig sabihin, hindi po yan gawa-gawa lang sa libro, kundi ay talagang na-fund po yan. Okay? May pumasok talagang pera. So, PDIC member banks. Okay? So, take note that PDIC is a government agency which regulates all these banks at yung mga different banks po. We're referring to the member banks. They would include the following institutions that are authorized by the BSP to perform banking institutions in the Philippines, and they are banks incorporated under Philippine laws, so domestic bank corporations, such as ito po yung mga different banks natin, and they are actually defined and explained well in your handout, so I need not go over them in this particular video recording. Okay? So, ano mga example po ng mga bangko sa Pilipinas that may be considered as domestic corporations: commercial banks, savings banks, mortgage banks, development banks, rural banks, cooperative banks, and stocks and savings and loan associations. Of course, meron din tayong universal banks, no? So, domestic branches of foreign banks. So, yung mga foreign banko, meron mga domestic branches dito sa Pilipinas. So, these are the PDIC member banks. So, it doesn't talk about a bank that is actually operating outside of the Philippine territory. Yes? Okay, so territorial po yung ating pag-understand ng slide na ito as to PDIC member banks. Insured deposits. Okay, ito yung sinasabi natin. So, since June 1, 2009, ito na po yung ating MDIC. Okay, so let's just go through over it again. Amount due to a bona fide, dapat talagang legal sa libro ay depositor siya, for legitimate, coming from legal, lawful sources, and the bank must be insured. How to compute it? Net of any obligation of the depositor to insured banks. So, we apply here the concept of set-off. Kung may mga pagkakautang o loan si depositor sa bangko, Iaawas na po yan. Okay? And whatever remains, net, positive yan, will be that which is considered to be insured up to this amount. Okay? As of the date of closure, and includes foreign currency denominated deposits. Foreign currency denominated deposits are also insured. Okay? But it should never exceed this amount per depositor, per bank, per closed bank. When to increase the MDIC? Okay. So under RA 9576, the PDIC may propose to adjust the MDIC subject to the approval of the President of the Philippines in case of a condition that threatens the monetary and financial stability of the banking system that may have systemic consequences. So madaming condition before ulit maitataas po yung ating MDIC. So, what are the insured deposits? You can divide them into by deposit type. So, pwedeng savings account yan, special savings, a demand account, or a checking account. Pwede siyang negotiable order of withdrawal accounts or now accounts. Certificate of time deposits, okay, by deposit type. Of course, you don't see here, hindi natin nakikita dito, trust accounts, money market placements, those are not insured under PDIC. By deposit account, pwede siyang single account, pwedeng joint account. Okay, so account by, in trust for accounts, or for the account of another person. These are also kinds of deposits by account, but regardless, they can be considered as single accounts or joint accounts, depending on the composition of that particular account. Okay, so by currency, pwedeng Philippine peso, pwedeng foreign currency. Yan. Foreign currency deposit accounts considered as part of BSP's international reserves. So let's talk about single accounts. Single accounts are individually owned accounts or accounts held under one name or under one's name, either as a natural person or either as a juridical entity or say for example corporations. No, so natural person refers to any individual person. Single proprietors are considered as natural persons, and juridical entity refers to a corporation, a partnership, or a cooperative. Ang joint accounts naman, accounts that are held under more than one name. They are held under more than one name, regardless of whether the conjunction is and or and or. Okay, regardless of among these three, anong ginamit, it shall be insured separately from single accounts. So joint accounts enjoy separate insurability, okay, with that of the individual accounts. So it is also advisable pala to maintain with the bank, with the same bank, okay, individual account and yung joint account. Pero syempre sa joint account, mayroong hati ka dun sa insurable amount. Okay, so the insurable amount of the individual account, maximum is 500,000. Sa joint account, doon sa share mo sa yung joint account mismo, okay, 500,000, yung maximum, yung MDIC niya. You as a part of that joint account, you enjoy insurable interest up to the extent of your share in the joint account. Unless a different sharing is stipulated in the deposit documents, the insured amount up to the MDIC of 500,000 shall be divided equally, so equal sharing, between or among the co-owners. Okay, so the total shares of a co-owner in several joint accounts may exceed 500,000, but will only be insured up to the MDIC of 500,000. Pagsamahin, as a class ng joint accounts, ilan pa yan? Lahat ng joint account ng isang tao sa bangkong ito up to MDIC of 500,000. Yan yung sinasabi niya dyan. Joint accounts held in the names of a juridical entity and a natural person. Okay, so yung account name niya is natural person A and ABC Corporation. The presumption under the law is that it should be presumed to belong solely to the juridical entity. Kaya yung may mas kayang kakayahan na mag-maintain itong account na ito. Okay, that's the presumption under the law. It's a disputable presumption. Okay, so ibig sabihin, if you have proof to the contrary that it really is actually for the natural person, then the burden of proof lies on the individual person. Okay? So, hindi po ito absolute po na presumption. Okay? So, hindi siya conclusive presumption, rebuttable or disputable presumption lang po. Okay? So, by or in the account, in trust for, or for the account of. Ito yung mga ibig sabihin ng accounts. In a by account, Anna by Ben, okay, Anna is the depositor. Ben is what? Okay, the agent of the depositor. In an in-trust for account, Anna in trust for Ben, okay, Ben is the depositor. And in for the account of account, for the account of account, Anna for the account of Ben, Ben is the depositor. And Anna is the agent. Okay, kaya intindi maigi po kung anong ibig sabihin ng by, in trust for the account of, na account. For you to be able to identify rightfully, properly, kung sino po yung depositor na entitled sa deposit insurance coverage. Okay? So, where a depositor is the sole beneficial owner of a single account for the account of by, or for the account of or by or interest for accounts, the consolidated balances of these accounts shall be insured by 500,000. So, lahat ng name accounts na ito, okay, should be insured for this much, 500,000. So, tingnan natin maigi. Let's have some examples. Okay. So, case 1, Angelo has the following deposit accounts under his name in the closed XYZ bank. So, meron tayong savings account, may checking account, may time deposit account siya sa nag-iisang bangko. Magkano yung suma total? Lahat ng kanyang deposit, 700,000. Okay, so ano yung katanungan? The depositor's total shares in his or her joint account shall be separately insured up to 500,000. And a depositor with a single account and joint account may have insured deposits up to 1 million. Okay? So, yung example natin kanina, kay puro individual accounts po yun, although he has 750,000 total, ang insured lang po doon ay up to the amount of 500,000 and the excess 250,000 remains to be uninsured. Okay? So, let's take a look at another case or another situation. Example, illustration. How much is Santos insured deposit if she has the following 4 deposit accounts in the same bank? Okay, so ano yung 4 na deposit account niya? Meron sa kanyang pangalan. Okay, ang amount na din-deposit ay this much, 100,000. Sa kanyang pangalan, pero isa for the account of FOA account. Okay, meron din siyang interest for her account. At meron din siya pong account as a sole proprietor. Rule natin would say that this will be treated as an individual account. So, magkano lahat yung kanyang deposit with the bank, same bank, if you total everything, that's 1 million. But how much is just insured? Dahil lahat yan considered as individual account for her favor, okay, only up to the extent of 500,000. Yun yung ating MDIC. So, what happens to the excess? 1 million less the insured would be the uninsured portion. Uninsured portion. And so, ano ang protection na pwede natin ibigay sa uninsured portion? The uninsured portion can actually be subjected to an insurance coverage which is voluntarily, okay, voluntarily taken, okay, by the insurer for his accounts. Okay, that's an additional protection that he can actually look into. Okay, yan. Tingnan natin to. How much is Santos insured deposit if she has the following 3 may joint accounts pa siya in the same bank? Yung kanyang joint account is this, my OR account with Ben Santos, my END account with Charlie Santos. Meron siyang END OR with Devin Santos. With these amounts amounting to now 2.5 million. Pero magkano yung share niya doon sa insured deposit? Yan yung tinatanong. As a class na joint accounts po, lahat nito ay insured to amount of maximum MDIC of 500,000. So 2.5 million less 500,000, the uninsured remains to be 2 million. Okay? So, yan po yan. So, not necessarily na ang interpretation po natin ay 250 out of 500, 250 out of the 1 million, and nothing out of the 1 million. But as a class po, ang total dapat po niyan ay 500,000 for a joint account. Kasi nga, kung meron po siyang joint account sa bangkong ito, at meron din siyang individual account, okay, the individual accounts on their own they are insured up to the MDIC of 500,000, and sa class, all joint accounts up to the amount of 500,000 too. So, ang maximum actually na total na pwede pag meron siyang individual at joint accounts with the bank, same bank, ay 1,000,000. Okay? Again, the same advice that we have given in the previous slide. What happens to the excess? Kasi we know now that it is uninsured. Okay, the depositor may decide and look into having it voluntarily covered by an insurance company. So, iba na naman. Okay, ibang insurance coverage if he wishes to. Dapat yun by agreement, by contract, hindi siya mismong law ang nag-i-impose na dapat gawin nyo ito. Okay? Yan yung ibig sabihin po niyan. Another, how much is First Santos insured? Okay, this is a follow-up to the two previous na slides natin. I-compare na natin yung kanyang individual at joint accounts. So, all single accounts, the keyword there is all single accounts, although it totals to 1,000,000, only 500,000 ang MDIC, yung share niya. Okay? As to the joint accounts, although more than one yan, as a class, okay, kahit na 2.5 million yung total nun, ay 500,000 lang. So, 500 plus 500, 1 million po to, no? Okay, 3.5 ang total ng actual, pero ang insured lang ay 1,000,000. Ang uninsured ay 2.5 million. So, for purposes of computing the insured deposits, all obligations or loans of the depositor will with the closed bank as of the bank closure, yan yung cut-off period natin, shall be deducted from the depositor's total deposits with the said bank. So, bago natin i-compute yung amount of total deposits at yung insured amount, kailangan muna natin gawin itong step na ito, yung setting off. Okay? Alamin sa libro ng bangko kung meron pang ibang pagkakautang, kung may pagkakautang sa depositor sa bangko. Kailangan din niyang munang bayaran yun bago natin i-apply yung provision ng PDIC on insurable deposits. So we got discovered, sabi dito, foreign currency deposits are also insured by the PDIC pursuant to 6426 or the Secrecy of Bank Deposits Acts of the Philippines. So an act instituting, this is the long title of 6426, which you will be learning and hearing from me sa part 3 on secrecy of bank deposits. Depositors may receive payment in the same currency in which the insured deposit is denominated. Okay? We got discovered for foreign currency deposits. What are not covered by the PDIC deposit insurance then, and yung mga hindi covered, the following, whether denominated, documented, recorded, or booked as deposit by the bank, are excluded. So, ano yung mga excluded natin? Investment products, such as bonds and securities, trust accounts, and other similar accounts. Ano pa po? Unfunded, fictitious, or fraudulent, or those that are determined to be proceeds of an unlawful activity. Relate this with the discussion on AMLA. So, hindi po siya insurable pag nanggaling dito po sa activity na ito. Okay? So, what else are not covered? Constitute and or emanate from unsafe and unsound banking practices, such as determined by the PDIC in consultation with the BSP after due notice and hearing and publication of PDIC cease and desist order against such deposit accounts or transactions. So, ano po itong mga unsafe and unsound deposit-related activities? They include, among others, pursuant to this regulatory issuance of the PDIC, the following. Okay? So, ano po itong mga unsafe and unsound? Kasi pag dito po nanggaling, yung ating deposit, ibig sabihin po ay hindi siya insurable under PDIC law. Deposit-related practice activity transaction without the approval or adequate controls required under existing laws. Failure to keep bank records within bank premises. So, si bangko mismo, kung saan tayo nag-deposit, mamili po kayo ng bangko, trusted bank, na mag-protect po sa inyong mga rights bilang depositing public or depositing bilang depositor, dahil kung yung isang bangko po ay hindi niya ginagawa yung kanyang obligation under the law, malamang kayo din po na nagde-deposit sa kanila ay hindi po makakatanggap ng ganong protection na dapat ibigay sa inyo ng batas. Okay? So, granting high interest, yung bangko which has negative unimpaired capital or liquid assets. Okay? So, may formula pong sinusunod si PDIC. at hindi nga talaga nagko-comply itong bangkong pinagdidepositan ninyo o kung saan meron kayong deposit accounts with PDIC regulations. So, very careful po, trust, okay? Select properly kung saan po kayo magbabangko. Okay. Deposit splitting, ano naman po ito? It would call for the breaking down of deposits worth more than 500,000 into two. Kasi baka iniisip nyo, may MDIC, no? So, what you will get if you plan your deposits this way. You break it down into two or more accounts to be owned by two or more individuals, no? So, kunyari yung 2.5 mo na individual accounts, ang gagawin mo ay i-divide mo yan into 5. Okay, and then name, 4 more people other than you, for those accounts. So this usually involves putting some of the deposit money in risky instruments masquerading as deposits. Deposit accounts that were split within this period of time, 120 days, so that is 3, 6, 9, 12, 4 months, no? Okay, immediately preceding or during a bank declared holiday, or immediately preceding a closure order for purpose of availing of the MD. So, yung second bullet would actually give us an indication na in bad faith yung pag-deposit ng account. Bakit hindi na lang sana winidraw at dineposit na lang sa mas magandang mga bangko pag ganito din naman na meron siyang inkling na ganito. Okay? Yan. So, next slide, who are required to file claims. So, this would not involve automatic settlement ng isang bangko. Okay, so we take a look at the amount depositors with valid deposit accounts with balances of more than 100,000. So, kailangan po itong mag-file ng claim more than 100,000. Depositors who have outstanding obligations with the closed bank, regardless of the amount of deposit. Basta may pagkakautang ka na outstanding with the bank, you have to file your claim. Depositors with account balances of less than the amount, 100,000, who have no updated addresses. Okay, or who have not updated their mailing address update form, MAUF, issued by the PDIC. Kasi hindi alam kung kanino ibibigay, di ba? So, it cannot enjoy yung easy settlement scheme. Depositors who maintain their accounts under the name of business entities. Pag business entities daw, name of business entities, regardless of the type of account or account balance. So, hindi siya natural, hindi siya deposit account na owned by a natural person. Okay, you have to file a claim. Excuse me. Depositors with accounts not eligible for early payment, regardless of type of account and account balance, or advice of the PDIC. So, may order sa PDIC, wait, hindi po pwedeng i-settle right away itong account na ito. So, filing of claims who are not required, hindi sila required to file claims, or hindi ibig sabihin na wala silang protection under the law. Dahil lang ba mas mababa sa 100,000, hindi pong ganun ang ating interpretation. Depositors with valid deposit accounts, balances of 100,000 and below are not required to file claims provided ito yung requirement. Okay? Wala silang obligation with the closed bank at they have updated their addresses in the bank records. Yan po yung requirement. So, this is the early payment scheme that you have heard from me. Okay. So, these valid accounts, yung 100,000 and below na updated ang addresses, na walang pagkakautang, okay, they are eligible for early payment through postal money orders or checks sent via registered mail or courier services. Postal money orders or checks amounting to 15,000 and below may be encashed in any of the local post offices in branches of the Land Bank of the Philippines. Okay, the depositors with deposit balances of 100,000 and below may update their addresses using the MAUF, yung form, and submit to PDIC representative station at the closed bank premises before the start of the on-site claim settlement operations. So, filing of claims, when are claims filed? Okay, during the claim settlement operations period. Okay, so may notice to depositors yan. And nakikita natin sa social media ang mga ito. They are published in national or local newspapers. Depositors have 2 years from the PDIC's takeover of the closed bank to file their deposit insurance claim. Period to file the claim is 2 years. Pero after filing it, the period to settle by, of course, the PDIC is 6 months. Do not interchange itong period of times na ito. Yung 2 years at yung 6 months. 6 months is the settlement period, okay? Filing of the claim is the 2-year period. You take a look at the reckoning point. Yan. What time is it? 9:30. When are claims filed again? Claims are filed during the claim settlement operations period. And this one, 2-year rule. As to who would sign the claim form, okay, the depositor should sign the claim form if he is the owner of the account, diba? So for depositors 18 years old and above, okay, sino magsasign? Si depositor. Pag yung depositor is below 18 years old, because indeed accounts can be opened even if you are below 18, yes? Okay, sino po ang pipirma pero doon sa claim form? Si parent po. Okay, pag walang parent, si guardian po. In the case of buy accounts, okay, sino po ang mag-claim? Si agent, baka nga po may kadahilanan kung bakit wala po si principal, kaya nga siya mayroong agent. Trustee will be the one to sign the claim form in the case of interest for accounts. And in the case of joint accounts such as or, and accounts, each depositor, take note, each depositor should sign the claim form. Okay? It's a requirement of the law. Okay, the PDIC, these are things that we should remember in the claiming period. The PDIC will not accept claims that are incomplete or that are lacking in requirements. The PDIC may also require additional documents in the course of the claims processing. Okay? The PDIC, as the receiver of the closed bank, has the authority to adjust the interest rate on unpaid interest on deposits if such rate is deemed unreasonably higher compared to market rates. Okay? So those are actions that the PDIC may actually do during the claims and settlement period. The standard procedures for claim settlement may not apply if the closed bank fails to properly turn over to the PDIC the closed bank's complete records. Ito yung mahirap kasi nakaangkla ulit sa compliance po ng inyong bangko yung procedures kung paano po i-work out yung inyong mga claims. So without the complete records, the PDIC will not be able to conduct the validation process for bank deposits, a requirement before deposit insurance claims are paid. Kaya may mga bangko po tayo na medyo matagal po yung mga settlement period or tawag nito, claims period dahil po sa mga problemang ganito. Okay? So these are things that are abnormal to the process. Okay? So technically, ang ating takeaway dito is even if we have laws that seek to actually protect yung investing public, the first action should always come from the depository himself. Okay, para ma-enforce niya properly at ma-enjoy niya lahat ng mga rights na ito, protection na ito under the law. Okay, bilang depositor, dapat marunong siyang mamili kung saan siya magbabangko. Bilang depositor, alamin din niya paano niya babantayan, okay, yung mga deposit niya na kanya na pong deposit in the hands of the bank. Kaya at any time na meron siyang information that the bank is not really doing well, I guess the better thing for the depositor to do is what? Okay? Maybe, okay, investigate, okay? At kung talagang merong mga kadahilanan, okay, that will not protect the right of the depositor, his right as a depositor, then I guess it is his right to withdraw the deposit. Dito nagkakaroon ng mga tinatawag na bank run kasi nga may mga depositors tayong ganito na alam nila paano mabantayan yung kanilang mga rights. So technically, whenever they come to a knowledge of these things, ginagawa nga nila, paano kung lahat ginawa? Kaya ito yung mga bank run, kaya biglang nagsasara yung bangko dahil wala nang maibigay na pera. Okay? If you happen to have observed a normal banking day operation, may mga pagkakataon na when you go to the bank and attempt to withdraw that big amount, you tend to, even before, we know for a fact that it has to undergo yung authorization, okay, para ma-release yung pera ninyo. Most often than not, if it breaches a certain amount, let's say for example 25,000 and above or 50,000 and above, or over, if your withdrawal amount is more than 50,000, okay, kailangan i-author, titingnan pa, may approving officer pa yan. Okay? Pero bukod pa doon, may mga time period, paghihintayin ka pa, kasi hintayin pa na may pera para maibigay sa iyo. minsan nanggagaling pa yun doon sa mga dinideposit na pera sa araw din yaon, no? So it really happens. So anyway, okay, this is to give you an idea of what happens, what is happening there. Practical advice, it says here, in following up a deposit insurance claim, the depositor should have the following information ready for easy reference. You should know the name of the closed bank, the name of the depositor, the claim number, and or the account number. Ito yung mga importanteng reference point po ninyo. So take a look at these true or false statements in your handout. These all pertain to PDIC, and come out with your answer. Okay. These are single statements for us to determine their veracity. Number one statement says, and all of the statements are actually true. Let's take a look at these principles. Number one says that the PDIC shall commence the determination of insured deposits due to the depositors of a closed bank upon its actual takeover of the closed bank. Okay, so yung reckoning period po dyan is actual takeover of the closed bank. It should not be earlier than that when it has not yet actually taken hold of all the information about the closure of the bank. Closure of the bank here is not because the bank voluntarily wants to close its operations. That is not the ground that we are talking about as being covered by the PDIC law. Okay, so the next statement says, when a depositor has both an individual account and a joint account, the maximum proceeds he can get from the PDIC for his or her insured deposit is 1 million. This is correct, 500,000 for individual accounts and another 500,000 for the joint accounts. That's the maximum. But of course, okay, ito yung pwede nyo exhaust, no? But of course, pag ang actual deposits ng individual accounts naman po niya is less than 500,000. Say for example, only 350,000. At yung amount ng kaniyang total na joint accounts with same closed bank is, say for example, will amount only to 400,000. Then what can be taken by our depositor from the same closed bank will be 400,000 plus 350, so that's 750. Okay, so ceiling po yung 1 million. Number 3, if the account is held jointly by 2 or more natural persons or by 2 or more juridical persons or entities, the maximum insured deposit shall be divided into as many equal shares as there are individuals, juridical persons, or entities, unless a different sharing is stipulated in the document of deposit. So, kunyari, sa joint accounts, ang nagmamayari dyan ay 4, okay? At isang joint account, of course, is insured by the bank to the maximum amount of 500,000. Okay? Pag ang sharing ng 4 ay hindi in-identify, the presumption established under the law is they share equally. So one gets 2, they share, okay, 1/4 of the maximum 500,000 for that joint account. Okay? Yun po yung interpretation na sinasabi ko dito. Okay, and then we have here, what if there is sharing that is stipulated by the parties among themselves? Okay, for example, it was stipulated that although they are 4 owners of that joint account, that one of them will have to enjoy 40%, and the other 3 will share in the remaining 60%, so 40, 20, 20, 20. Okay? So for the insurable amount of 500,000 for that joint account, okay, say for example, the actual amount deposited is 600,000, pero maximum kasi ay 500,000. Okay, that 500,000 has to be what? Okay, shared 60%, no, what did I say? 40% for one, and the 3 will have 20% of the remaining of that 500,000. Yun po yun. The fourth statement, which is also true, the depositor shall retain his or her claim for any uninsured portion of his or her deposit, which legal preference shall be the same as that of the subrogated claim of PDIC for its payment of insured deposits. So this statement is true and it answers the question, what happens to the uninsured portion of the deposit claims ng ating mga depositors. So it becomes a legal claim against the closed corporation. Take note that the closed corporation still will have to undergo its liquidation, dissolution, liquidation, winding up. Okay. Parang nag-interchange, no? So dissolution, winding up, and liquidation. That's the proper process. Dissolution, winding up, liquidation. So may liquidation. Okay. So it's a claim. Kunyari, sabihin natin, we have 600,000 and 500,000 is insured and is now paid and it's now settled by virtue of the PDIC law. So yung 100,000 mo, okay, is a claim. You have to claim it as against the closed bank itself so that upon liquidation ng closed bank na yun, may isasama siya, okay, sa payment kung meron mang naiwan pa na net assets itong closed bank na ito to pay off all its obligations. Kung sakali, sabihin natin that your 100,000 uninsured claim is but one of the other general claims of other creditors of that closed bank, then you will share with them, okay, sa settlement, sa liquidation. In similar way that the PDIC also becomes one of the claimants as against the closed bank. So the idea behind it is, okay, subrogation po papasok dito in favor of the PDIC, okay, alongside with you as a creditor also of the closed bank. True. Let's take a look at number 19. It says there that joint accounts shall be insured separately from any individually owned deposit account. This is true. Foreign currency deposits are also insured by the PDIC. We have that in that slide, which said that we got it covered. So this is another true statement. So, kunyari lang, okay, just to overly emphasize it, you have a savings account with, say, for example, BDO here in Luneta Hill, and another savings account in another BDO branch, let's say, for example, Labanao, and a BDO branch here in Ligarda. Okay, in all three banks, you maintained, okay, a savings deposit account of 250,000 each. So that's a total of 750,000 for the three branches of BDO. Okay, how many banks are we talking about here? We're actually talking about just one bank. So the closure, say for example, of BDO, okay, will also affect the deposits that you have in the other branches. Okay, so how will you maximize protection under the law? So with this in mind, I guess it's better for you to deposit your extra money not only in one bank, but take a look at other trusted banks. So we have, this is not bank placement, okay? Just this is for hypothetical illustrations. May Metro Bank dyan, may BPI dyan. Kaya pwede mo siyang i-distribute kung yung pera mo naman po yan ay savings at gusto mo lang talagang ipatago. But of course, okay, being a depositor, you always take a look at, okay, who gives you a higher rate as compared to the others. Okay, and you also have to take a look at the standing of the bank. Okay, sabi nga natin, alagaan mo yung pinaghirapan mo ding pera by, okay, exercising due diligence and taking a look at where you should actually save up or to save that money, hard-earned money at that. Let's now take a look at the MCQ portion. So we have here 12 MCQs for you to take a look at. Tingnan niyo po kung ano yung kasagutan ninyo. May computation tayo dito. So pang PDIC law, most often than not, it will really involve you applying the rules that we just have learned and compute. You need to compute. By the way, for problems, yung may mga computation po dyan, it's actually taken from the PDIC website. This is an illustration coming from the authority, okay, authority in the law itself that we are discussing. So, nasa na kayo? Compute? You can actually just do it mathematically, yes? We're down to the last 20 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we end in the computation. Let me show to you the suggested answers. So for number 1, which is objective, which of the following is not a function of the PDIC? We've seen deposit insurer, co-regulator, and receiver and liquidator of closed banks. Letter D is the answer. This is not a function of the PDIC. It is engaged in the lending of funds obtained from the public because this is a function of a bank. Okay. Number 2, amount of insured deposit. Okay. Yung MD po natin ng 500,000 net. Why net? Because if you have depositor outstanding obligations, okay, with the bank, it has to be paid muna, okay, before we talk about insurable deposits. You have here the problem on Juan de la Cruz. So let us jump right away to number 3 requirement. How much is the insured deposit of Juan de la Cruz? Okay. So for number 3, this is 1 million because he has his individual accounts and his joint accounts. Okay. So for the class of individual accounts, the MDIC is 500,000. It just so happened that his individual account is more as compared to the MDIC. And as to the class of the joint accounts, another 500,000. Okay. What is the total uninsured deposit of Juan de la Cruz? Okay. The amount is how much? Okay. Number 4, the answer is letter B, 250,000. 250,000. Yung uninsured portion. Number 5. Okay. What is the total insured deposit of Maria de la Cruz? The answer here is letter B, 250,000. Ma'am, bakit 250,000 lang po? Tingnan niyo po yung 500,000 na time deposit nila. Okay. Yung joint account niya that is shared with the Juan de la Cruz. The amount is 500,000. Just so happened that it coincides with the MDQS. So that's half of it. So that's 250,000. We're now with number 6. Okay, letter B. What is the insured deposit of Pedro de la Cruz? Okay, while the share of Pedro de la Cruz, okay, because there is no express, okay, stipulation as to how much they should share, so equal sharing, that's 1/2 of 800,000, it's 400,000. Out of that 400,000, of course, okay, take note that the entire joint account of 800,000 is only insured up to the maximum of 500,000. So ang share niya dun sa 500,000 is 250. Okay? That's the way to understand it. Hindi po kalahatiin nyo kaagad. Hindi po dapat ganun. What is the total insured deposit of Pedro? That's number 6. Yes, letter B. 250 lang po yan. Uninsured deposit of Pedro de la Cruz, then that is 150, letter C. Okay? For the next item, number 8, which is another problem, given a different set of facts. What is the total of insured deposit of Juan de la Cruz? Suggested answer here is still letter B. Okay, total amount of 1 million. What is the total insured deposit of Pedro de la Cruz under the new set of facts? It will be letter D, 600,000. Okay. So, kung bakit 600,000? Kasi yung share in joint or account is 250, which is the maximum of 500,000 divided by 2. And the share in the three-way joint or account, so 150,000. So that's 450,000 divided by 3, 150,000. Yan. Oh, I'm so sorry. Medyo nahihina lang. Again, number 9, D. Number 10, suggested answer is letter C. 10C, yeah. Become a claim against the asset of the closed bank. This is that which happens to the uninsured portion. It's a claim against the closed bank. Number 11, all banks enumerated above, okay, when you deposit with them, they are insured by the PDIC. Yes, even cooperative banks po. Okay. When the law does not make a distinction, we should also not make a distinction. Okay, for number 12, the last one here in this slide, the suggested answer is letter D, deposits in foreign currency. So what is the exception? The PDIC will not pay deposit insurance on the following accounts or transactions. Okay, yan po, exception. So yung exception, it's covered by PDIC, MD coverage, kahit foreign currency yan. Pero, okay, pag investment in bonds, hindi yan sakop ng batas. Deposit products emanating from unsafe and sound banking practices, hindi rin po, and deposit from unlawful proceeds. This was emphasized in a slide which we explained a while back. Okay, so let's take a look at another set of MCQ. Isagot po. Or i-ready nyo po yung inyong mga kasagutan para mas madaling i-check. Hope you are all safe wherever you are. The weather has been becoming cold and unpredictable. Similar way that our internet too is becoming unpredictable. So our discussion of banking laws, ang isusunod po natin dito ay BP22. So as soon as I am ready with the material, I'll ask NC4 to share it also to you. And the video will follow. More MCQs. Level, no? Okay. Let's now take a look at the suggested answer and check your work. So, ito, 13C. So, both the statements presented before you are erroneous statements. First statement says, deposits in different banks are added together. Take note, different banks, yun yung keyword natin dyan. So, mali po. Second statement, and deposits in different branches of the same bank are insured separately. False din po. Okay? They're considered as one, added together. Yun yung added together. Okay? And so, magkaiba po yung treatment. False po tayo dyan. Number 14, to file for claims on the insured deposits, which of the following are not required? Ano dyan, hindi kailangan, ang tinatanong. The answer here is letter C, because it says there for all depositors. The photocopy of the birth certificate and a valid ID of the parent is just a requirement if we are to talk about a minor. depositor claimant. Okay? So number 15, A ang suggested answer po dyan. So this is really fill in the blank. Depositors with valid deposit accounts with balances of 100,000 and below are not required to file claims because they are covered by the easy payment scheme. Number 16 is a joint demand deposit account in the name of Juan de la Cruz and ABC Corporation in the amount of 500,000. Okay, was held in Bank 1. What is the insured deposit of Juan de la Cruz? Not for the account of Juan de la Cruz, but rather for the account of the juridical entity, ABC Corporation. So the answer there is 0. Your answer definitely will change if there is clear proof that the account is for the account of the natural person Juan de la Cruz, which is not stated in the set of facts. Let's now take a look at number 17. No, 17 is not included. Let's take a look at 26. For 26, the government agency granted with the power of supervision and examination over banks and non-bank financial institutions performing quasi-banking functions to ensure that the conduct of its business is on a sound financial basis that will provide continued solvency and liquidity is the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas over all banks and non-bank financial institutions po ito. So it's the BSP. Ito po yung sagot natin for 26. For 27, A. So this is actually related with a concept in obligations and contract. X maintains a savings deposit in the amount of 1 million with the bank. X also has obtained a loan from ABC, the same bank, the amount of 1 million. So the idea behind it is, of course, offsetting. This can be lawfully done. Okay. Unless expressly stated that there be no compensation, legal compensation. And let's now take a look at 20. Number 39. 39, the answer there is letter D. Exceptions po yan, add month out. Number 40 is E, deposit to a warehouse. Hindi po yan covered. Number 41, insured by PDIC, yung demand or checking account but not the others. Number 42, not insured by the PDIC because it's operating outside the Philippine territory. 43, it is insured by the PDIC funded deposit accounts compared to BCD choices which are not insured by the PDIC because of the flaws. Okay, so andyan yung fictitious, fraudulent, unsafe and unsound business practices, unlawful activity. Number 44, the last in this particular set of MCQs, ang sagot po natin dyan ay deposits. Ito po yung definition ng deposits. The next set, the remaining questions on the law. Okay, you have 3 here. Kindly answer them, please, and then we compare. Okay, only have 3. So, unang tanong sa 45, what is the mode of payment by PDIC of claims of depositors from a closed bank? It's either A or B, pwedeng cash, pwedeng ito, making it available to each depositor or transfer deposit, wire transfer. Not, of course, letter C. Kaya hindi po promise to pay dapat yan. Dapat i-settle talaga. For 47, the suggested answer is letter F. Okay, exception po yung hinihingi niyan. So, who should file a claim? Okay, that's actually what is being asked. And we've enumerated this in a while back in our lecture, in our video. Okay, 48, the last one for this particular topic. Okay, settlement. Kailan po yung filing? Okay, settlement really. Okay, so 6 months from the date of filing of the deposit insurance claim to the PDIC, the settlement period. Letter C po ang kasagutan. before we leave this banking law, take a look at some. Okay. So, which among the following is not a function of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, not a function? Okay. The Bangko Sentral is the depository of the Philippine government. It is a financial advisor to, it is the fiscal agent of the Philippine government, but it is not the watchdog of government funds, because this is a function of another constitutional commission, which is actually the COA. So, sagot natin dyan is yung, okay, not a function, yung B, D, watchdog of government funds. This one. Okay, kindly take a look and give your answer. Ano yung material po dito? Nakakaiba na hindi nyo nakita doon sa mga problems natin ng joint accounts. Kasi doon sa mga problems natin sa joint accounts, we simply identify the depositor's name, yes? And if they happen to have the same family name, okay, we didn't give the assumption that they are related somehow, no? Pero dito, there's really a particular descriptor. Okay, sabi Jose and his wife. Okay, they opened and maintained the following accounts with the bank in recto. There is a savings deposit, a demand deposit, and a time deposit. The actual deposits, 650 plus 401,050,000. They also have the same deposit to the same amount. Okay, so parang 2,100,000 in total. Also with the bank, Allied Bank, but ang branch ay Makati. If Allied Bank becomes insolvent, yan yung rason po, insolvency, the PDIC will be bound to be liable to the spouses for its insurance liability equivalent to, magkano po? Sa ilang deposits rather, sa ilang deposits siya magiging liable. If you try to analyze joint accounts, is this joint accounts or individual accounts? His wife. They're considered as individual account po. So technically, one deposit lang po. Meaning 500,000 lang po yung insurable deposit dyan. Okay, with this particular problem, okay, I guess it's making you think, what's the best way then? What should have been done? What could have been done by the spouses as to protect their rights to, let's say, a bigger amount of insurable deposit? No. So, kaya nga, minsan doon sa declaration natin, pag nag-open tayo ng account, ano yung source? What's the source of the deposit? Okay, so another way would be, kahit na, it just so happen, na wife nga, pero it could be proven that there is a separate source of deposit of the wife. Then, your answer will be 2 deposits, no? Kasi nga, joint account talaga yan. Okay. So, just one way of defending the right of the spouses here. But as it appears, okay, this will only be, okay, a protected, one deposit lang po. That's a suggested answer. I hope you are able to understand why one deposit at kailan 2 deposits. I think we don't have any more